This is Trending Daily and I am Makhdoom Shahabuddin. Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 will be remembered as one of the most consequential years in South Asia's strategic history. Not because a war was fought, but because two very different national trajectories became visible at the same time. While India entered the year with the image of a rising superpower, it ended the year facing military embarrassment, economic stress, and diplomatic isolation. Pakistan, by contrast, began the year in quiet stabilization and ended it having restored deterrence, credibility, and strategic relevance on the global stage. What we witnessed in 2025 was not simply a shift in power, but a reversal of narratives. For more than a decade, the dominant international story was that India was the inevitable success and Pakistan the permanent problem. 2025 broke that illusion. It exposed India's vulnerabilities and showcased Pakistan's resilience. It showed that ambition without coherence leads to overreach, while discipline without noise leads to influence. The first major turning point came in May 2025 with Operation Sindoor. After a militant attack in Pahalgam, India launched cross-border military operations, expecting to impose costs on Pakistan and demonstrate dominance. Instead, the operation revealed deep weaknesses in India's intelligence planning and escalation control. Indian planners misjudged Pakistan's readiness, misread the level of technological integration between Pakistan and China, and underestimated Pakistan's ability to respond quickly and effectively. What India expected to be a controlled show of force turned into a demonstration of Pakistani deterrence. Pakistan's air defense systems, integrated radar networks, electronic warfare capabilities, and long-range missile systems denied India air superiority and denied India escalation dominance. Reports emerged of high-value Indian assets being neutralized, including advanced aircraft that have been marketed as symbol of India's military modernization. While India downplayed the losses, international military analysts noted that the psychological and strategic impact was far greater than any physical damage. Perhaps the most significant failure for India was not tactical, but political. The ceasefire that ended the crisis was not announced by New Delhi, but by Washington. A conflict involving India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed states, was effectively managed and concluded by external powers. This alone shattered India's long-standing claim of strategic autonomy. It showed that when the stakes rise, India lacks the diplomatic weight to manage crises on its own terms. India also failed to isolate Pakistan diplomatically. While many governments expressed concern over violence, they did not accept India's framing of Pakistan as the aggressor. No global coalition formed behind India's narrative. Instead, Pakistan emerged with enhanced credibility as a restrained, responsible actor that demonstrated military capability without reckless escalation. Pakistan's success in this moment was not emotional or theatrical. It did not seek war. It sought stability. It showed that it could defend itself decisively while remaining diplomatically composed. That combination, strength without arrogance, is what restored Pakistan's standing internationally in 2025. India's failures extended beyond the battlefield. The decision to place the Indus Water Treaties in abeyance was widely criticized as reckless and dangerous. Weaponizing water undermined India's image as a responsible power and raised alarms globally about the humanitarian implications of such actions. Civilian damage reports, regardless of disputed numbers, provided Pakistan with a moral and diplomatic advantage in international forums. While India struggled, Pakistan consolidated. The military enforced internal discipline, confronting extremist groups and reinforcing the state's monopoly on force. This internal sanitization reassured investors and partners that Pakistan was serious about stability. Security without extremism and power without chaos became Pakistan's new identity. At the regional level, India also suffered major setbacks. Bangladesh, once considered firmly in India's orbit, shifted away dramatically after the collapse of Sheikh Hasina government. The new leadership in Dhaka moved closer to China, dropped Indian-funded projects and allowed public sentiment to turn sharply against Indian influence. India lost its most reliable regional partner and gained a skeptical neighbor. China continued to pressure India on the border, maintaining tactical initiative and forcing India into a reactive posture. Despite high-level talks, no real de-escalation occurred. Meanwhile, China became India's largest trading partner, but on deeply asymmetric terms that produced a massive trade deficit, exposing India's dependency on the very country it views as a strategic rival. Economically, India faced one of the most difficult years in the recent memory. Capital fled, the rupee hit historic lows, energy imports became more expensive, equity markets underperformed, foreign investors withdrew tens of billions of dollars amid geopolitical uncertainty and economic stress. The image of India as an unstoppable growth engine was replaced with concerns about structural fragility. Relations with the United States deteriorated sharply. Tariffs on Indian exports rose to punitive levels. Trade talks collapsed. Indian manufacturing and exports to the US contracted sharply. The H-1B visa shock struck at the very heart of India's service economy, making outsourcing far more expensive and undermining the foundation of India's global tech model. India entered 2025 believing it could assert itself everywhere at once, against Pakistan militarily, against China strategically, against the West economically, and against its neighbors politically. It ended 2025 overstretched, isolated, and internally pressured. Pakistan followed the opposite path. Pakistan chose focus over expansion, coherence over ambition, and reform over rhetoric. Pakistan stabilized its economy, brought inflation under control, restored fiscal discipline, attracted investment, and privatized long stagnant state institutions. Pakistan's stock market surged, IT exports boomed, remittances hit records. Pakistan re-emerged global markets not as a borrower begging for relief, but as a partner offering opportunity. Diplomatically, Pakistan positioned itself as a bridge rather than a block. It deepened ties with China while engaging the West. It partnered with the Gulf while maintaining dialogue with Iran. It expanded trade with Central Asia and Turkey. It participated in regional stability discussions from Gaza to Afghanistan. Pakistan stopped being viewed as a problem to be managed and started being viewed as a player to be consulted. Strategically, Pakistan restored deterrence stability with India, institutionalized security cooperation with Saudi Arabia, strengthened naval coordination with Oman, and expanded military diplomacy across the Islamic world. Pakistan became not just a state with armed forces, but a security provider for others. By the end of 2025, the contrast was undeniable. India had ambition without alignment. Pakistan had alignment without arrogance. India pressured dominance and found resistance. Pakistan pursued stability and found influence. 2025 exposed that power is not about size alone. It is about coherence, credibility, and control. Pakistan rebuilt those pillars and India weakened them. That is why 2025 became the year of setbacks for India and the year of strategic comeback for Pakistan. Not because Pakistan took risks, but because Pakistan reduced them. Not because Pakistan sought confrontation, but because Pakistan mastered deterrence. And that is why history will remember 2025 not as the year South Asia moved toward a war, but as the year Pakistan quietly moved back into the center of global relevance. That is the story of 2025. That is the comparison. And that is the lesson. This is Makhdoom Shahabuddin signing off. See you in the next episode.